The emergency alarm screamed through the space station as massive shadows blocked out the stars. Admiral Thane pressed his face against the observation window and watched 12 alien vessels emerge from hyperspace, like dark storms materializing from nothing. Each ship stretched over 5 kilometers long with smooth silver hulls that seemed to bend light around them. The human fleet looked like toys in comparison. "Sir, they're hailing us," Communications Officer Peters said with a trembling voice. The young man had never seen anything beyond Earth's solar system, and now he stared at technology that defied everything humanity thought they knew about physics. "Put them through," Thane ordered. He straightened his uniform and prepared to meet humanity's first alien contact. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a creature that made everyone in the command center step backward. Commander Vorth stood nearly 3 meters tall with 4 arms and skin that shifted between blue and silver like liquid metal. His eyes glowed with an inner light that suggested intelligence far beyond human comprehension. "Primitive mammals." Vorth's voice echoed through the station's speakers with perfect English pronunciation. "We are the hegemony. Your species has been selected for absorption into our empire. Surrender now and your deaths will be swift." Thane found his voice despite the fear crawling up his spine. "This is Admiral Thane of the Human Defense Fleet. We don't surrender to anyone. State your intentions or leave our space." Vorth's 4 arms moved in what might have been laughter. "Your space? Little creatures, you have no space. You barely crawl between a few rocks orbiting a mediocre star. We have conquered 1,000 worlds and absorbed 50 species. Your resistance is meaningless." The alien commander gestured to someone off-screen, and suddenly the display showed detailed scans of human weapons. Bullets, missiles, artillery shells, and nuclear warheads appeared in holographic form while Vorth examined them with obvious amusement. "These are your weapons? Metal projectiles propelled by chemical explosions? We stopped using such crude tools before your ancestors discovered fire." Admiral Thane watched as the alien commander picked up what looked like a human assault rifle from his collection of captured equipment. Vorth held the weapon like a museum piece, turning it over in his hands with the same fascination someone might show toward a stone axe. "Look at this primitive design," Vorth continued. "Simple mechanical parts, chemical propellant, and crude metal bullets. Our energy shields will stop these ancient projectiles before they travel a meter. Your nuclear weapons are equally useless against our matter displacement fields." The alien commander set the rifle down and activated a holographic display showing hegemony technology, plasma cannons that could melt through asteroid belts, energy shields that could deflect star-level radiation, and molecular disruptors that could tear apart matter at the atomic level. Each weapon system made humanity's best technology look like caveman tools. "We offer you one chance," Vorth said. "Surrender your worlds, and we will grant your species the honor of serving the hegemony. Your primitive weapons cannot harm us, but your manual labor might prove useful. Refuse, and we will demonstrate why energy-based warfare has made kinetic weapons obsolete." Thane looked around the command center at his officers. Every face showed the same mixture of fear and determination. They had spent decades preparing for this moment, but nothing could have prepared them for technology this advanced. Still, humanity had faced impossible odds before. "We need time to consider your offer," Thane said carefully. "Our government requires a democratic process for such decisions." Vorth's eyes flashed with annoyance. "Very well. You have 72 hours to evacuate your homeworld. After that, we begin the cleansing process. Use this time wisely, mammals. Study our weapons and understand why resistance is futile." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Through the observation windows, the alien fleet maintained perfect formation while smaller ships began launching what looked like reconnaissance drones. The hegemony forces positioned themselves with casual confidence, clearly believing humanity posed no threat whatsoever. "Sir," Major Brooks spoke up from the tactical station, "their ships are maintaining standard formation protocols. No defensive positioning, no screening elements. They're not even running active scans on our weapon emplacements." Thane nodded grimly. They think we're harmless. Send orders to all fleet commanders. Begin Operation Checkmate. All ships are to retreat to secondary positions as planned. As the human fleet began its apparent withdrawal, Vorth watched from his flagship with satisfaction. The primitive mammals were already running, exactly as predicted. Their crude kinetic weapons would be useless against hegemony technology, and their chemical explosives were no match for energy-based defenses. Commander, one of his tactical officers reported, "The humans are withdrawing to their outer planets. Should we pursue?" "No," Vorth replied. "Let them run. When the time comes, we will demonstrate why every advanced civilization abandons kinetic warfare. These mammals still fight with metal and fire like savages." On the human command station, Admiral Thane watched his ships take position in the asteroid belt. The hegemony had made their first critical mistake by underestimating humanity's weapons. They had advanced technology, but they had also grown arrogant. Soon they would learn that sometimes the oldest tools were the most effective. The countdown began. 72 hours until the hegemony discovered that primitive weapons could still kill advanced enemies. The aliens laughed at human bullets and bombs, but they had never faced an enemy that combined modern targeting systems with ancient kinetic principles. Earth's defenders prepared to teach the galaxy that evolution in warfare sometimes meant going backward to move forward. The war was about to begin, and humanity's greatest strength would prove to be what their enemies considered their greatest weakness. The first shots of the war echoed across Luna Base 7 as Captain Rivers crouched behind a reinforced barrier and watched the alien assault force advance. The hegemony shock troops moved with perfect coordination, their energy shields shimmering like soap bubbles around their tall frames. Each soldier carried weapons that hummed with contained power, ready to unleash forces that could vaporize human armor in seconds. "Hold your fire until they reach the marked zone," Rivers whispered into his unit. His 20-man garrison had volunteered to make the first stand, knowing they faced enemies with technology centuries beyond their own. The base commander had offered them evacuation, but every soldier chose to stay and fight. The alien troops reached the halfway point, between the landing zone and the human position. Their leader, a massive creature with 6 arms and glowing red eyes, raised one weapon and fired a test shot at the human barriers. The plasma bolt struck the reinforced concrete and turned it to molten slag in seconds. "Primitive defenses!" The alien commander's voice boomed across the battlefield through some kind of translation device. "Your metal and stone cannot protect you from the power of stellar fire. Surrender now, and we will grant you quick deaths." Rivers felt sweat dripping down his face despite the controlled atmosphere of his combat suit. These aliens had conquered 50 worlds with technology that seemed like magic. Their energy shields had stopped every weapon the outer colonies tried to use against them. But Earth Command had sent specific orders about what weapons to use in this first engagement. "Remember," Rivers said quietly to his men, "aim for center. Mass, full automatic fire. Do not stop shooting until they stop moving." The alien force began their final advance, confident that their personal energy shields would deflect any primitive projectiles the humans might fire. They had seen the reports from conquered worlds. Every species eventually abandoned kinetic weapons for energy-based systems, making their shields nearly perfect protection. "Fire!" Rivers shouted. 20 assault rifles opened up simultaneously, sending streams of armor-piercing bullets toward the advancing aliens. The first rounds struck the energy shields and seemed to disappear in flashes of light. The alien commander laughed, raising his weapon to return fire. Then something impossible happened. The energy shield around the alien leader flickered and died. The next burst of bullets punched through his armor like it was made of paper. Purple blood sprayed across the lunar surface as the creature stumbled and fell. "Shield failure!" One of the alien soldiers screamed in his own language. "The kinetic projectiles are bypassing our energy barriers." Rivers watched in amazement as bullet after bullet punched through the alien shields without being stopped. The energy fields that could deflect plasma bolts and laser Beams did nothing against simple metal bullets traveling at high velocity. The aliens scattered, trying to take cover behind rocks and equipment. "Impossible," the dying alien commander gasped. "Energy shields stop all projectiles. The physics are proven across 1,000 worlds." "Not these projectiles," Rivers said, walking forward with his rifle still aimed. "Your shields work against energy, not mass. Our bullets don't carry electrical charge. They're just heavy metal moving really fast." The surviving aliens tried to regroup, but their tactics were all wrong for facing kinetic weapons. They had been trained to fight enemies with energy weapons, where shields and precision mattered more than cover and suppression. Against automatic gunfire, their advanced armor became a liability instead of protection. Within 10 minutes, the entire alien assault force was eliminated. Rivers looked down at the fallen creatures and realized that humanity had stumbled onto something incredible. The most advanced military force in the galaxy had a critical weakness that no one had ever exploited. "Command, this is Captain Rivers," he said into his comm unit. "First contact engagement complete. Enemy neutralized with 0 friendly casualties. You need to hear this report immediately." 3 hours later, Admiral Thane listened to the combat recordings with growing excitement. The aliens had energy shields that stopped their own weapons perfectly, but kinetic projectiles passed through like the shields didn't exist. It was like bringing guns to a sword fight, except the swords were made of energy and the guns were made of ancient human technology. "Sir," Major Brooks said, "we're getting similar reports from outposts across the system. Every time our forces engage with conventional weapons, the aliens are completely unprepared. Their shields don't work, their tactics fail, and their armor can't stop our bullets." Thane activated the fleet communication system. "All ships, this is Admiral Thane, new tactical directive. All energy weapons are to be powered down and stored. We fight this war with kinetic weapons only. Bullets, missiles, railguns, and nuclear warheads. Nothing that carries an electrical charge." On the Hegemony flagship, Commander Vorth received the combat reports with disbelief. His elite shock troops had been eliminated by primitive projectile weapons that should have been stopped by basic energy shields. The physics made no sense according to everything the Hegemony knew about warfare. How is this possible? Vorth demanded of his science officer. "Energy shields have protected our forces for over 1,000 years. Every advanced civilization uses energy-based weapons." "Commander," the science officer replied nervously, "our shields are designed to disperse heat and electrical energy. They work perfectly against plasma, lasers, and particle beams. But these human weapons use chemical propulsion to accelerate solid matter. The shields cannot affect objects with no energy signature." Vorth's forearms clenched into fists. "Then we adapt, increase shield power, modify the energy frequency?" "Sir, the problem is not power or frequency. The problem is that kinetic energy cannot be dispersed by energy fields. It would be like trying to stop a thrown rock with a flashlight." Being. For the first time in his military career, Commander Vorth faced an enemy that his superior technology could not defeat. The humans fought with weapons that his entire civilization had abandoned as primitive, but those same weapons were proving devastatingly effective against forces that had conquered half the galaxy. The war was no longer a simple absorption of a primitive species. It had become a battle between two completely different philosophies of warfare, and the more advanced side was losing. Dr. Morgan bent over the captured alien weapon system with fascination and growing understanding. The laboratory beneath Geneva buzzed with activity as humanity's best scientists worked to reverse engineer hegemony technology. What they discovered challenged everything they thought they knew about advanced warfare. "Admiral," Dr. Morgan called as Thane entered the secure facility, "you need to see this immediately. We found something that changes everything about this war." The weapon on the examination table looked like a work of art rather than a tool of destruction. Smooth curves of unknown metal contained energy systems that could generate temperatures rivaling the core of stars. But as Morgan activated the holographic display, the weapon's true nature became clear. This plasma rifle represents over 2,000 years of energy weapon development, Morgan explained. It's incredibly sophisticated. The power source alone is beyond our current understanding, but look at this. The hologram showed the weapon's targeting system. Perfect accuracy, automatic range finding, and energy output that could be adjusted. From stunning to vaporizing. But every single parameter was designed for fighting enemies with energy-based defenses. Their entire weapons doctrine assumes the enemy will have energy shields, Morgan continued. Look at these firing patterns. Short, precise bursts designed to overwhelm shield generators. No provision for sustained fire or area suppression. They've never had to fight an enemy without energy protection. Thane studied the data with growing amazement. You're saying their weapons are too advanced? Exactly. They've optimized everything for energy-based warfare. Their tactics, their equipment, their entire military philosophy assumes the enemy will fight back with similar technology. They've never encountered an enemy that fights with kinetic weapons. Morgan activated another display showing hegemony shield technology. The energy barriers were marvels of engineering that could stop anything from laser beams to nuclear plasma. But the physics were simple once you understood them. The shields dispersed energy by spreading it across a wide area until it became harmless. The shields work by converting incoming energy into heat and light, Morgan explained. They're perfect against energy weapons, but a bullet doesn't carry electrical charge. It's just mass moving at high speed. The shields can't convert kinetic energy into anything else. Admiral Thane walked to the window overlooking the main research floor. Scientists worked frantically to understand alien technology while engineers modified human weapons based on their discoveries. The irony was incredible. Humanity's most primitive weapons were proving more effective than the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Sir, Dr. Morgan said quietly, there's something else. We've been analyzing their military database. The hegemony has conquered 57 different species over the past 3,000 years. Every single one followed the same technological path. The holographic display showed the progression. Species developed basic kinetic weapons, then discovered energy-based systems, then abandoned kinetic weapons entirely as they became more advanced. Every civilization in the galaxy had made the same choice. They all thought kinetic weapons were primitive, Morgan continued. Once they developed energy shields and plasma weapons, they stopped using bullets and explosives. The hegemony conquered them easily because they all fought with similar technology. Thane felt a chill run down his spine. We're the only species that kept developing kinetic weapons. Not just kept developing. We perfected them. While other species moved to energy weapons, we spent centuries improving bullets, explosives, and delivery systems. We have weapons they've never seen before because every other species abandoned this path. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't just fighting an advanced alien empire. They were fighting an empire that had never encountered effective kinetic warfare. The hegemony's shields, tactics, and weapons were all designed to counter energy-based attacks. What about their armor? Thane asked. Morgan smiled grimly. Even better. Their personal armor is designed to dissipate heat and energy. It's incredibly light because they only needed protection against plasma and lasers. Our armor-piercing rounds go through it like tissue paper. On the tactical display, Morgan showed combat footage from across the solar system. Human forces engaged hegemony troops with devastating results. The aliens' advanced weapons were precise and powerful, but they couldn't adapt to the chaos of explosive warfare. Their formations, perfect for energy combat, became death traps under artillery bombardment. Their military doctrine is completely wrong for fighting us, Morgan explained. They use precise, coordinated attacks designed to overwhelm energy shields. But our weapons don't need precision. We use suppression fire, area denial, and saturation attacks. They have no counter for that. Admiral Thane activated his communication system. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Thane, Priority Intelligence Update. The enemy has never fought kinetic weapons before. Their entire military is designed for energy-based warfare. Exploit this advantage immediately. In the Hegemony fleet, Commander Vorth struggled to understand his situation. His forces had superior technology, better training, and numerical advantage, but they continued to lose every engagement with the humans. The primitive mammals were using weapons that his shields couldn't stop and tactics that his forces couldn't counter. Commander, his tactical officer reported, the humans are using projectile weapons exclusively. No energy signatures, no heat emissions, just solid matter accelerated by chemical reactions. Our countermeasures are useless. Vorth studied the combat reports with growing frustration. His troops were trained to fight precise energy battles, not chaotic kinetic warfare. Their weapons were designed to penetrate energy shields, not to create the area suppression that kinetic weapons provided naturally. Modify our shields to stop kinetic projectiles, Vorth ordered. Sir, that would require a complete redesign of our defensive systems. The energy requirements alone would be enormous. And it would leave us vulnerable to energy weapons. Then we will adapt our tactics. Fight them at long range where their primitive weapons cannot reach us. Commander, their missiles have longer range than our plasma cannons. And they're using nuclear warheads that our ships cannot absorb. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Hegemony faced an enemy that their advanced technology could not defeat. The humans fought with weapons that seemed primitive, but were actually perfectly adapted for the kind of warfare the Hegemony had never encountered. The revelation was spreading through both fleets. Humanity had accidentally discovered the one weakness that every advanced civilization in the galaxy shared. They had all abandoned kinetic weapons for energy-based systems, leaving them vulnerable to the very weapons they considered obsolete. The war was no longer about advanced versus primitive technology. It was about two different approaches to warfare, and the supposedly primitive approach was winning. The ground shook beneath Sergeant Beck's boots as Hegemony dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. The final battle had begun, and humanity's homeworld would either survive or burn. Beck checked his weapon one last time and looked at the faces of his squad. They were scared, but they were ready. Remember what we learned? Beck told his soldiers. Their shields don't stop bullets. Their armor can't handle explosives. And they've never fought an enemy that uses suppression fire. Stay low, keep firing. And don't let them regroup. The alien ships landed in perfect formation across the European countryside, disgorging thousands of Hegemony soldiers. Each warrior stood 3 meters tall and carried weapons that could melt tank armor. But Beck knew something the aliens didn't. Their perfect tactics were about to become their greatest weakness. Contact front! Private Williams shouted as the first alien patrol rounded the hillside. The Hegemony soldiers moved in precise formation, their energy shields active and their weapons ready for the kind of coordinated energy battle they had fought for centuries. Beck's squad opened fire with everything they had. Machine guns, assault rifles, and grenade launchers filled the air with metal and explosives. The aliens' shields flickered and failed as bullets punched through them like they weren't there. Their perfect formation collapsed as soldiers dove for cover they weren't trained to use. Impossible! One alien commander screamed as his troops fell around him. These primitive weapons cannot penetrate our defenses. Your defenses don't work against our weapons, Beck shouted back as he lobbed a fragmentation grenade into the alien position. You've been fighting energy wars for so long you forgot about explosives. The grenade detonated with a thunderous blast that scattered alien soldiers like leaves in a hurricane. Their energy-based weapons were precise and powerful, but they couldn't create the chaos that chemical explosives produced naturally. The aliens tried to regroup, but human artillery began falling around them like rain across the battlefield. Similar scenes played out as human forces engaged the Hegemony invasion. The aliens had superior technology and training, but they were fighting a type of warfare they had never encountered. Their weapons were designed for precision, not suppression. Their tactics assumed enemy shields that could be overwhelmed, not enemies that relied on cover and mobility. "Sir," Lieutenant Torres reported to Beck, "the aliens are retreating to their landing zones." "They can't adapt to our style of fighting," Beck nodded grimly. "They've been fighting clean energy wars for thousands of years. They don't know how to handle the chaos of kinetic warfare." In orbit above Earth, Admiral Thane watched the space battle unfold with cautious optimism. The hegemony fleet had arranged itself in elegant formations designed for energy-based combat. Their ships were beautiful, streamlined vessels that could generate incredible amounts of plasma and energy, but human warships were different. They were ugly, armored fortresses bristling with missile tubes and railguns. Where alien ships relied on shields and precision, human vessels depended on thick armor and overwhelming firepower. "All ships, this is Admiral Thane, begin the final assault. Remember, they've never fought kinetic weapons in space. Their shields won't stop our missiles, and their hulls can't handle nuclear warheads." The human fleet launched everything they had. Thousands of missiles streaked toward the alien ships, while railguns fired tungsten projectiles at incredible velocities. The hegemony fleet responded with precise plasma beams and energy weapons that could slice through asteroid belts, but the aliens discovered that space warfare followed the same rules as ground combat. Their energy shields, perfect for stopping plasma and lasers, did nothing against missiles and railgun projectiles. Human nuclear warheads detonated against alien hulls that were designed to dissipate energy, not survive the physical shock of explosive detonation. "Commander Vorth," one of his officers reported, "we're losing ships faster than we can replace them. The human weapons are completely bypassing our defenses." Vorth watched his beautiful fleet being torn apart by crude human weapons. His ships were marvels of engineering that could fight precisely and efficiently. But efficiency meant nothing against enemies who preferred overwhelming force to elegant precision. "Increase shield power," Vorth ordered desperately. "Modify the energy frequency to stop their projectiles." "Sir, we've tried everything. Their weapons don't use energy. They're just mass moving at high speed. Our shields cannot affect them." On the ground, Beck's squad pushed forward as the alien forces continued their retreat. The hegemony soldiers were individually superior to humans in every way. They were stronger, faster, and carried more advanced weapons. But they fought like precision instruments against enemies who specialized in chaos. "They're trying to establish a defensive perimeter," Williams reported. "Standard energy warfare formation?" Beck smiled grimly. "Perfect. They're doing exactly what we want them to do. Call in artillery support. Let's show them what happens when precision meets chaos." The artillery barrage began 30 seconds later. Human shells filled the sky before crashing down on the alien position with devastating effect. The explosions didn't just kill enemies. They created smoke, dust, and debris that blinded alien sensors and disrupted their communications. "They can't fight what they can't see," Beck muttered as his squad advanced through the smoke. "Their weapons are too precise. They need clear targets and clean fields of fire." The hegemony forces tried to adapt, but their equipment and training were all wrong for this kind of warfare. They had spent centuries perfecting energy combat, where battles were clean and precise. They had no experience with the dirty, chaotic reality of explosive warfare. In space, the alien fleet began to break apart as human weapons found their mark. Vorth watched his flagship shields fail under the impact of conventional missiles. The irony was incredible. The most advanced military force in the galaxy was being defeated by weapons that their enemies considered primitive. "All ships, begin withdrawal," Vorth ordered. "We cannot win this engagement." But Admiral Thane had anticipated this moment. "All ships, implement Operation Hammerstrike. Don't let them escape. We end this here." The human fleet launched their final salvo. Every missile, every railgun round, every nuclear warhead they had left. The hegemony ships, designed for elegant energy warfare, couldn't handle the brutal reality of kinetic combat. As the alien fleet burned in Earth's orbit, Beck looked up at the sky and smiled. Humanity had won not through superior technology, but through superior philosophy. They had kept the weapons that every other civilization considered obsolete, and those weapons had saved them from extinction. The war was turning, and the galaxy would never be the same. The final battle raged in the space between Earth and Mars as Admiral Thane led the human fleet toward the Hegemony command ship. The massive alien vessel stretched 10 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull gleaming with energy weapons that could destroy entire cities. But Thane had learned something during this war that changed everything about galactic warfare. "All ships maintain formation," Thane ordered. "Remember, their weapons are designed for precision combat against energy shields. Our ships are built to survive nuclear warfare. We can take hits that would cripple their vessels." The human fleet was ugly compared to the elegant alien ships. Where hegemony vessels were sleek and beautiful, human warships were armored boxes bristling with missile tubes and railguns. They looked primitive, but they were designed for the kind of brutal warfare that the galaxy had forgotten. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander Hayes reported, "the alien flagship is powering up its main weapon. Energy signature is off the charts." Thane nodded calmly. "Let them fire. Our armor can handle energy weapons. It's designed to survive nuclear blasts." The Hegemony flagship unleashed a beam of pure energy that could have melted an asteroid. It struck the human command ship with the force of a small star, but the armored hull absorbed the impact without critical damage. The alien weapon was incredibly powerful, but it was designed to penetrate energy shields, not to punch through. "Thick metal armor, return fire," Thane ordered. "All missiles full spread, nuclear warheads armed." Hundreds of missiles streaked toward the alien flagship while railguns fired tungsten projectiles at incredible velocities. The Hegemony ship's shields flared as they tried to stop the incoming weapons. But the energy barriers were useless against kinetic projectiles on the alien flagship. Commander Vorth watched in horror as primitive human weapons tore through his ship's defenses. His vessel was the most advanced warship in the galaxy, equipped with technology that could reshape matter at the molecular level. But none of it worked against simple metal projectiles moving at high speed. "Commander," his tactical officer reported, "the human missiles are penetrating our shields. They're detonating inside the ship." Vorth's forearms clenched in frustration. "How is this possible?" "Our shields stop everything, sir. Their weapons don't use energy. They're just mass accelerated by chemical reactions. Our shields cannot affect them." The irony was devastating. The Hegemony had spent 3,000 years perfecting energy-based warfare, creating weapons and defenses that were marvels of engineering. But they had forgotten the fundamental principles of kinetic energy that governed the universe itself. "Increase shield power," Vorth ordered desperately. "Modify the energy frequency." "Commander, we've tried everything. You cannot stop a physical object with an energy field. It would be like trying to catch a thrown rock with a flashlight beam." Admiral Thane watched the alien flagship's shields flicker and fail as human weapons found their mark. The massive ship began to list as explosions rippled through its hull. The most advanced vessel in the galaxy was being destroyed by weapons that its builders considered primitive. "Sir," Hayes reported, "the alien fleet is breaking formation. They're trying to retreat." "No," Thane said firmly. "We finish this here. Signal all ships, final assault." The human fleet launched everything they had left. Every missile, every railgun round, every nuclear warhead. The Hegemony ships, designed for elegant energy warfare, couldn't survive the brutal reality of kinetic combat. On the alien flagship, Commander Vorth realized that his entire civilization had made a fundamental error. They had become so advanced that they had forgotten the basic principles of warfare. Energy weapons were precise and efficient, but kinetic weapons were universal and unstoppable. "Commander," his science officer said quietly, "I understand now. We abandoned kinetic weapons because we thought they were primitive. But kinetic energy is the most fundamental force in the universe. It shapes planets, powers stars, and governs the motion of galaxies." Vorth looked at the human fleet with new respect. These mammals had never abandoned the weapons that every other civilization considered obsolete. They had kept improving bullets, explosives, and delivery systems while the rest of the galaxy moved to energy-based warfare. "They're not primitive," Vorth whispered. "They're pure." They never forgot that the universe runs on kinetic energy. The final torpedo struck the alien flagship amidships, its nuclear warhead detonating deep within the ship's hull. The explosion tore through bulkheads and systems that had been designed to handle energy weapons, but had no defense against the raw physical force of chemical explosives. As his ship died around him, Commander Vorth activated the emergency communication system. "Admiral Thane, this is Commander Vorth. I request permission to surrender." "Granted," Thane replied. "But I want to understand something. You have superior technology. Your ships are faster, your weapons more powerful. How did we win?" Vorth was silent for a long moment. "You won because you never forgot what we had forgotten. We became so advanced that we abandoned the fundamental principles of warfare. We thought energy weapons were the ultimate evolution of combat, but we were wrong." "Wrong? How?" "Energy can be dispersed, redirected, absorbed, but kinetic energy is absolute. Mass times velocity equals force, and force is the only thing that matters in the end. You kept the weapons that work because they are based on the fundamental laws of physics." Admiral Thane understood. "You optimize for fighting advanced enemies. We optimize for fighting any enemy." "Exactly. We prepared for war against civilizations like ourselves. You prepared for war against the universe itself." The battle was over, but the implications were just beginning. As news of humanity's victory spread through the galaxy, the other species of the hegemony began to question their own technological choices. If the most advanced military force in the galaxy could be defeated by kinetic weapons, what did that say about their own defenses? Within months, human weapons instructors were teaching alien species how to build and use kinetic weapons. The galaxy's military academies began studying human tactics and philosophy. Earth became the center of a new understanding of warfare that combined advanced technology with fundamental principles. The hegemony's former subjects didn't just learn to build human weapons. They learned to think like humans. They discovered that sometimes the best solution was the simplest one, and that advancement didn't always mean abandoning the past. Commander Vorth, now a prisoner of war, spent his time studying human military history. He learned about wars fought with sticks and stones, with bronze and iron, with gunpowder and steel. Every conflict had taught humanity something about the nature of warfare, and they had never forgotten those lessons. "Your species never abandoned any weapon," Vorth told Admiral Thane during one of their conversations. "You still train with swords and spears alongside your nuclear weapons? You understand that all warfare is fundamentally the same." Thane nodded. "We learned that technology changes, but the principles of combat remain constant: force, momentum, and kinetic energy. Everything else is just details." The war had ended, but its effects would reshape the galaxy for generations. Humanity had won not through superior technology, but through superior understanding. They had kept the weapons that worked because they understood that the universe itself ran on kinetic energy. As the reconstruction began, one thing was clear: the galaxy would never again make the mistake of abandoning kinetic weapons. The humans had reminded everyone that sometimes the oldest answers were the best ones, and that true advancement meant understanding the past as well as embracing the future.